and roam and impact the lane states accordingly. We've got the first game though, dear. Initial nerves, prerequisites, potentially still in play. Let's see how this game starts out. Croc,
Definitely.
on the Xin Zhao, I think is somebody else who I've got my eyes on. Obviously, Xin Zhao versus Lee Sin is one of those We're
already slapping.
Oh, okay. Any potions used? Big advantage early on. No.
Duran going to get the chance to reset. Would have had his potions filled up as well. Could have taken it. Could have been the big man, but instead, just making sure that he'll be there with the minions, so a nicely timed recall as well. But for the most part, everything is pretty darn calm. My nerves, though, are certainly through the roof, because this game one could very well decide everything. You talked about how in a best of 5, we could go to 5 games. We could also go to 3. A lot of that gets decided here with how convincing game 1 can be, because it's a big mental game that gets played on the Rift as well.
Momentum is always a factor in games, in pretty much everything that we do with League of Legends as well. There's only so much that you can attribute to non-human error, and at a certain point that does have to become a factor. Nice little panoramic across Summoner's Rift to start us off. Our junglers both starting on the top side of the map. You'll note that there is vision on Disarmer, so he's spotted out on his path. They know exactly where he's going to be playing to, where his path is going to take him. And on the other side of things, Croc operating under a slight sense of security that he doesn't have his own jungle warded out, and for the time being isn't spotted. That potential for early level 2 ganks was certainly still there, and the potential for him to make a play very early on wouldn't have been spotted out. Alas, he's just going to go for that full Xin Zhao clear, the Axeman special, because of his hatred for it.
Exactly. It's scary too, because you actually got Dorun pulling the wave in top side. Kiari is slow pushing as a result, and it would have exposed him to ganks, but furthering the rage that our resident man with axes feels, it's going to be, interestingly enough, a pull on the top side and a push on the bot side. So Netshoes are using Croc as this sort of, I want to say, token of safety. Not saying we're going to use you for a gank, but instead going, well, since you're around, we can do whatever we want.
Exactly. And that's sort of the ideal. I want to credit that ward, though, from Cello. Netshoes miners, they're going to be ready for this counter gank if it comes through. They've also got Nautilus to set it all up.
Desamus knows what's up, though. He's sitting in the brush, was a little bit ahead of whatever play. Croc is able to spot him out and get spotted out himself. Now, no question, though, the first crab goes over to Croc, and now potentially even a gank. There is still a ward in this brush, no sweeper to spot it out, but I do wonder if Croc starts to hightail it up towards top side to try and get that double scuttle, or whether he retreats back into the jungle and maybe revisits bot lane in the future.
Well, we have to look at our wave states as well. Both of the solo laners are in favour of Netshoes right now, so even though Croc is trying to go for that Raptor camp right now, his ability to the top crab was certainly there. Nevertheless, it could just end up being not taken. I think that Disarmus has recognised, hey, my laners don't have prio, I can't go for this crab, but Croc's like, I'm not in a rush to get up there, we'll do it at some point. It's on my list, but it's not at the top.
Now over on the bot side, Matsukaze and Was have retaken a lot of the momentum that they lost early game, and with the double ranged matchup, have actually managed to chunk out Cello and Hawk pretty darn significantly. For a strong point on the map, I do really like that they've picked up the Enchanter for the little bit of lane advantage, because it makes things so much easier to translate into victories elsewhere when you've got a playmaking AD carry like Aphelios and Was to prop him up with the Seraphine that is making life so much harder.
Yeah, the beauty of this bot lane for Liberty is that if they survive an initial all-in, then they are pretty much set up for the rest of the laning phase. They haven't particularly scrapped it out just yet, but the nature of Seraphine into Nautilus as a matchup is that if the Nautilus hits a hook and you're able to find that all-in, it tends to go Nautilus way, but if the Seraphine's able to poke out the Nautilus, poke out the Jinx, then certainly the advantage is going to go the way of Liberty's bot lane. And it looks like so far that has been the case. Now, I wanted to quickly mention as well, we did end up getting a little bit of a production graphic up on the bottom about our mid laners here, the highlighted matchup that we wanted to go for. I think it was Crastial with a larger sample size of games on Orianna, and then Any with just a 33% win rate on the Victor, wonderful. I'm not too sure how we have 75% win rate from 5 games. I'm gonna allow it, but that is not a correct statistic. Nevertheless, it goes to show that this guy good.
I want to say as well that that graphic was so good that I just assumed that it was a CBLOL graphic. That's the wildest thing. Well, this is getting pretty wild down here, though. Already catching out Was. Seraphine is a lot of things, but she isn't super tanky. Dasamis does go in to make this a 1-for-1, flashing away from the Chaos Storm, but Hawk right on top of it and instantly CCs him down with Crastiel low on mana. Netshoes Miners are going to get away with 2 kills to the 1 of Liberty, but the skirmish in the jungle already lighting flames inside of this game.
And there we go, we get to see a little bit of a glimpse of the issues that the Seraphine is going to have. Is if she gets picked, she goes down incredibly quickly. A very squishy support that can be taken advantage of, and you get to see it right there, that Netshoes are able to just take advantage of it. 1 kill, 1 assist for both the support and the jungler of Netshoes. Unfortunately, Victor only getting his Victor stacks in from 1 of those kills. Would have loved to have got an upgrade in off the back of that fight. Nevertheless, once you've reached that level 7 marker, he's going to be hitting that upgrade very soon with that assist, and should be able to start wave clearing that lane and making this Orianna's job a little bit more miserable.
I mean, if that happens again, we're gonna have to start looking out for whether enchanters get picked up, because that is a big question for me, is whether Was is actually going to be able to manage in a high pressure game, the highest pressure all season, the enchanter sort of play style that comes here, knowing that into a high damage comp you're not quite able to go in. Dasamis might still go in though. Dasamis is thinking about it. A large part of this red buff invade coming off the back of the fact that there was a lot of vision previously, about 2 minutes ago here, for Netshoes Miners, and they had a really good idea of where Dasamis would be and what resources were available to him to pull.
And once again, our mid lane matchup that we were talking about, he pulls up Any from the mid lane, says hello, thank you. I will utilise my Victor wave clear to take a little invade, just steal away a red buff. It's a slight advantage, but one that will certainly be felt.
Alright, we found the root. Matsukaze on red-white, so I think everybody knows, especially for the Netshoes Miners, that it isn't the time to take the all-in, just a short trade to let him know that they're not going to take this one lying down, but Dasamis is on the way down and also has that level 6 available with vision being cleared out. Liberty at least took the time to set up for the tower dive, threaten it, but it don't seem to be going for it, which is a little unfortunate when we consider they're losing stuff on the top side of the map.
It is on vision, so they know that they've got this time to make a cross-map play. But whether it's on vision or not, that still doesn't mean that necessarily you will make something happen. It looks like Voss at level 5 as well is not going to be able to pull that engage trigger all that easily. And just a couple of plays is going to be the reward for now.
Alright, well now 4 people are bot lane, so things are going to get crazy. Hawk already CC'd underneath the tower is gone as Was flashes away over the wall. Dasamis doesn't quite have the safeguard though, so a 1-for-1 in the bot lane after pulling 4 people down in what was ultimately a 3 versus 4. This is still a very good look for Netshoes.
Honestly, not bad. Their ability to collapse on the play, make something happen. I really credit Netshoes right here. They're quite happy to sacrifice Hawk as a Nautilus here. I mean, Cello still able to stay alive. He's still going to be collecting minions, collecting resources. And he comes on through, picks himself up another 25 stacks on that Victor. And there, this is really interesting. Croc versus Dasamis as the first blood participation. More than half the games, Croc makes first blood happen, where Dasamis just over a fifth. That means that at one point in this series, dear, he's likely to be contributing to a first blood.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did it already. I'm thinking back. Yeah, he definitely did.
He was a part of the early fight, but I don't know that Liberty got first blood.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say they did. No, wait, no, Liberty didn't. Netshoes did.
Controversial.
Whew, yeah, that was some fact
Bold
recall.
Claims.
I don't know, yeah. My play-by-play brain was struggling. I'm like a goldfish. I don't remember anything. I'm like, ooga hype, and then from then on, everything is a mystery. One of the big mysteries of this game, however, is going to be the focus around dragons. I think a CBLOL special would be to leave it up until it's about 18 minutes into the game. And that seems to be Liberty's game plan, at least for right now, but the objective focus of the Netshoes Miners now having the Rift Herald off of what was a nice cross-map play and defense from them, they're going to be able to crack open whatever tower they would like and get a few more plates. I do wonder where they end up going, though, because if we take a look at the bot side, Cello and Hawk haven't been having the best time. Do you equalize that lane? Do you get Doran further ahead? Do you try and break open the mid lane? For Annie, what do you do?
I mean, so first of all, I want to posit that I think this should just be a mid lane crash with the Herald. I think taking an Orianna's plates is very crucial. We do have a top lane ult, but it looks like it's going to fizzle out. Oh. Ooh.
Do we call it respect? I think we call it respect.
For those that missed it, yeah. Disarmus threw his Q, it hit a creep, but Doran flashed it regardless. The preemptive one, it is going to result in a dragon being taken, so 11 minutes in, pretty on brand for the CBLOL to collect their first Drake of the game, which is absolutely fine. And now Croc hopefully going to use this Herald in the mid lane. Like I said, I think taking plates off an Orianna is something that you kind of have to do because you can't take her turret any other way. She wave clears far too well, pretty similar to a Victor, honestly, and he did make a roam down to the bot side and it lost him one plate. But now we get to see Rift Herald do the exact same thing, and hopefully if there's a second, they could well get that turret, but I want to draw your attention. Oh, do I have time? To the jungle matchup. Disarmus a level behind on Croc, and as such, Croc with his completed gold drink is just going to be slightly stronger. A little bit of extra juice, and then Disarmus leeching a bit of that mid XP does tick himself back over to that level 8. So that disparity quickly closed up, but that fight in particular could have been fairly important. We are starting to see that the Nautilus is going to get a little bit outscaled just in terms of how easy it is for him to execute. He needs to find these really strong engages and pick up the fights for Netshoes because he's their only source of that engage. Other than finding poke with Doran, with Cello's apps as well, there's not a lot on the table for the rest of Netshoes to make things happen. And if this Nautilus starts to fall behind, that squishy Nautilus engage really does fall by the wayside.
And both of these teams, I think, are struggling from the problem that it is a little more difficult for them to start fights. It's a good thing that Liberty do have, I think, 4, maybe 5 sources of it, if we count the Orianna Shockwave as a way to start a fight, but all of them take time. They're relatively telegraphed. It isn't that click button start fight like you would with a Malphite or even a Leona at times. So it's going to have to be an opt-in from both sides. Kiari up on the top side, still taking punishment.
Stop tickling me. Stop tickling me.
Yeah, exactly. Now that he's not even completed an item, but just has started up the garage sale, it's pretty difficult to actually deal with.
Yeah, there was I heard somebody talking about tank mythics, and it did make me laugh. That in this particular topside matchup, basically all tank mythics come with magic resistance, right? As a part of the secondary component, or just the triad components that you're going for. And in this topside matchup specifically, how happy do you think Kiari is building magic resistance?
I mean, not too happy. Yeah,
exactly. So he skips a little bit out on the mythic. He heads into the Warden's Mail, get himself some actual armor behind his belt, and now he's going to finish off working towards that full mythic. Whichever one it ends up being, the issue with tank mythics is you never know which one it's going to be until they complete the item, because there's simply no way to tell. They'll build out the same thing.
I was getting nervous there. I felt like I was kind of getting mind gamed because Kiari's not too happy about having to build magic resistance. But also he's going to have to deal with Annie pretty darn soon. Once this mid lane tower eventually gets cracked, being able to stand up to the victor for even 1 or 2 more seconds could be the difference between a Liberty team fight win and a Liberty team fight loss.
You're correct. Unfortunately, for Kiari in that instance, Annie has opted into the Luden's Echo as opposed to the Liandry's Anguish, which could have been a little bit better, or would have been a little bit better for taking down the Scion. But instead has opted into the better damage for taking out the Squishies, which in fairness is all 4 of the members of Liberty, so we can understand quite why, and he's leaving the tank killing capabilities down to Cello. Now Croc is going to be spotted on this ward, a beautiful ward from Liberty, spots Croc going in. So they know they're operating under full information right now that there's a Xin Zhao lurking in the brush. No fights to occur just yet, and they finally get, with that ward being spotted out by Netshoes, they know that they knew.
Would not be a fan of them starting the play after all that as well, with the fact that Netshoes miners have continued to stay ahead, and this is an interesting stat as well that we're going to have to take a break from analyzing it to instead analyze this sick fight that's going on. Desamus with an excellent kick, bringing Croc right into the front lines, and Hawk following him down. Celo should be able to get out, but unfortunately, an ill-timed teleport will bring Do-Run in, giving Matsukaze a triple kill. And now I start to say, well, it was a Netshoes Miners game, but has the train come to a stop?
It certainly may have done, because that's a pretty big fight in favour of Liberty. I think that fight ticked over to just after 15 minutes. Before 15 minutes, Netshoes had the win in their sights. Alas, that team fight has gone incredibly awry. 3 kills over to Matsukaze. It's so impactful. Nice little route to start things off, and Croc just holding his ulti here for the longest time. Doesn't quite get it off, and a really good kick flash sets up the Xin Zhao to get taken down. A lovely flash as well, it has to be said, from Hawk. Alas, to no avail. And quite simply put, a Chakram Dephilios is not one to be trifled with.
Is Do-Run lagging? Is that what's happening? So I feel like something is going awry. In the bot side, it's Matsukaze and Was that are somehow managing to live. That's the thing that's going wrong here. With Matsukaze flashing away, Was does finally get taken down, and Chiari is left for dead. But you've saved your Aphelios. Netshoes Miners, though mad about that, are going to be able to take it out on not just 2 members of Liberty, but also the Dragon.
Mission Control, we have some good news and some bad news. The President got away, but we did take some sustained casualties. 2 members of Liberty, they do go down, they do fall, but you are quite right that Matsukaze gets to live. The Ophelio stays alive. He's still got that precious 300 gold bounty over his head. And Netshoes Miners, they equalise in kill score. They pretty much equalise in gold, just the 1k difference. And importantly, they've got that 2 Drake stack in their favour. Coming to those team fights, coming to those objectives, where we said that this game would be won or lost, it's Netshoes who have that distinct advantage.
I mean, I gotta say, Rudude, you said at the start of the broadcast that we'd be coming up on this pretty darn biased. I'm already feeling it. It's a Liberty angle. I got my jersey on, everything. You got a Gale Force completed on Matsukaze at this point. Once he hits that second item, things are going to be going crazy, and I just don't see Do-Run and Croc having been able to put up a performance in the early game that would stop that. Already play being made in the middle, and Cello is gone!
Ciao, ciao. Goodbye. You have been killed. Gale Force into route. That's one way to do it. I mean, so dear, we looked at the engage potential of Liberty and said, it's not particularly abundant. Little did we know, Gale Force AD carries was the new engage.
Yeah, that was, you remember when I was like, maybe they have 4 playmakers? I was thinking specifically of the Gravitum as one of those sources of engage, because we see it fairly frequently, but aggressive plays like that from Matsukaze aren't going to happen all that often. What they are there to do, though, is send a message, specifically to Cello, going, you think you can step up to me? Absolutely not. We need 2 or 3 people before you can even farm safely, and that's not just in the mid lane, which should have been the safest.
It's typically where AD carries go to play ping pong and push their waves back and forth and go, okay, I should be safe here. I can be chill. I can just collect a wave under my turret and hopefully be fine. Fortunately, Cello steps a little too far forward, does get caught out, and that gives a big swing over to Liberty now. Their ability to utilise this mid lane tier 1 falling to collect vision in the enemy's jungle is something that we're going to have to monitor, and also segues into what could be a fairly scary set of Drake takes for Netshoes, because they're going to have to run in under a lot more darkness, walking into a lot more scary areas of their own jungle, just by nature of this mid tier 1 being down. You don't get to see where some of that vision may have been placed. It opens up your own jungle to be warded and taken about quite easily for Liberty, so we'll have to see if they can make the most of that turret being taken down and see if they can move themselves around the map a little bit easier and a little bit better with the squad.
Uno reverse card off the early game as well, where Netshoes are the ones heavily in control of the vision. Now Was and Crastiel pairing up this time around, wanting to make sure that neither of them end up going down. I don't think surely they wouldn't, right? I mean, you have red white.
That would be a pretty good. That would be a pretty CBLOL move. I feel like
it would.
We get to 20 minutes. The very second we can flip an objective, we must.
It's gonna happen at some point in this game. They have reset as well. Second item's in for Matsukaze. The Bloodthirster would help out a lot with being able to sustain through a lot of the Baron damage. For right now, though, priority does seem to be on making the more stable plays around the map, especially with a minute left.
No, Dora, no!
He has flash. He has flash. I think he gets out. I think he gets out.
Phase rush. Okay, he's fine.
That's a broken.
I hyped that up way too much.
No, it's okay. It's understandable.
I'm very sad.
I am surprised he didn't burn the flash, though. I mean, like, I expected him to get out, but like after flashing the knockup or something, he was just like, nah. No, I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from safety.
To the skies, to the base, to my own safety of my turrets and my jungle. Thank you. That'll be all. Netshoes miners at this point, only the 1k down right now, and I think that when we're coming up to these Drakes, it's going to be that important factor that we need to look at. 54 seconds on the Hextech Drake. I will get those correct one day. On the Hextech Drake, dear.
No, the Chemtech Drake just doesn't exist anymore.
No, so. Well, you're quite right, and that's why when I say Chemtech, people know that I mean Hextech, because they don't have tech in it. And I tend to get away with it.
It's the technology Drake.
Yeah, pretty much.
All the other Drakes, they're sitting there.
Technology.
Yeah, they don't have smartphones. They don't understand. They're not on Facebook. But these Drakes,
they're still on Bebo and MySpace.
Yeah. Am I aging myself? Do people still make Facebook accounts at this point? Like, are the
So I think this is a good barrier to how old you are. As a question as to why did you make your Facebook account? I made mine so I could play Farmville.
Oh, okay. I made mine so I could do group projects.
Oh.
So I'm not only old, I'm also a loser.
Nice.
Try and top that.
Yeah.
Liberty got their first dragon of the game, though. Definitely not losing in this particular case and forcing Sella to flash as the train down from Chiari was pretty darn intimidating and would have made a great engage as well. No Baron gonna go to Netshoes miners and trade for that objective instead. Just picking up the top lane turret and equalizing the gold somewhat. We're now only 500 gold in separation between these two teams.
Now, I've realised I have an issue this game, and that Sion is going to have to be permabanned, because or Netshoes have to take it, because if there's a team fight and I end the team fight with choo-choo, nobody's going to know who I'm hyping up.
That's true.
There's a Sion on one side and there's Train Team on the other. I'm a little bit at a loss for what to do.
I was actually really sad about that at the start of the match as well. I was like, you know, it's one of those things you're going through play-by-play and like play-by-play brain. How do you call out different things during this match? What are the puns that you could make? I'm not good at puns, so I go for the you know, low-hanging fruit, and unfortunately,
if I'm a loser,
around, yeah, exactly. You know, that classic fun.
The self-deprecating humor. We love to see it.
Laughter followed by immediate tears. Was clearing out waves in the mid lane. Not by any means unhappy as a Seraphine. That is one of my top activities that I will try and go for.
So for reference, we didn't quite get to touch on this in draft, but Deer is a Sona Seraphine 2 trick.
Yeah.
So whenever Sona or Seraphine get picked, there's just a beaming smile across Deer's face, because Deer, in the very heights of gold that he's been able to amass, the support strategies, they may not be all there.
Dude, Seraphine is OP.
Correct.
You literally can't lose. Liberty just took a huge shockwave directly to their AD carry, and they didn't mind at all, and now they're starting a team fight around the Baron casually. Hawk is going to go down here, you can only imagine, but Encore does go wide. Desamis goes low. Croc is now separating the team of Liberty, but not surviving for the amount of time you need your Xin Zhao to be surviving. Liberty separate and destroy across almost all of Netshoes miners, leaving two carries with no way to walk up.
The rebrand of Divide and Conquer, the Separate and Destroy, Liberty able to take a nice fight in the mid game here. It doesn't amount to the Baron since they lost Disarmis, but they are going to be able to charge down this mid lane tier 2 turret. Whether they're able to get it or not remains to be seen. Chiari's going to step forward and say, oh yeah, I'm a tank, I forgot about that, let me hold up and put this turret to rest. Nothing on the board for either of the teams in terms of objectives other than that tier 2 turret. But they do get themselves a nice attempt, as this fight actually, you know, you talked about the shockwave starting it all off and, you know, taking a bit of a chunk It's actually a really good backside fight from Liberty. They're able to start out the fight on this bot side, and as you said, separate the team. That knuckle of the jungle, the top side of the blue buff wall, really being the defining feature of that fight, weirdly enough.
It was pretty wild to see Liberty committing so hard as well, when I was expecting Netshoes to be the much more in-your-face team. We talked about how Croc managed to get inside of that fight, but a little bit too late when he didn't have the Crescent Guard, when he wasn't that threatening anymore. And a large part of that had to do with the fact that, well, Liberty had a plan. Well, they knew exactly who they wanted to take down and when. Netshoes were playing adaptively, and especially when you've got a Nautilus, you need to be the ones starting the play, forcing Liberty to adapt to you.
There's no other way for them to engage. You're quite right. That if they don't get that engaged with Nautilus, Hawk is just going to be a meat sack, and unfortunately, as a support, your income is very low, and as such, so is your general ability to tank. So keeping your eyes on the Nautilus to see if Hawk can fish for those engages, because if he finds Matsukaze, even if he finds Crastial or Voss, that's a high priority target that you can take down, and if you're able to burst up one carry within an instant, you tend to be in a pretty good position. And of course their composition as well is going to get engaged on.
There we go! Cello has to have this tank for him, but the Encore still finds him! Uranian carry can't move, and Croc is going down as well! Liberty with the hype train on the wrong team, end up barreling it down mid lane and finding a team fight win.
That's what we talked about in the Champ Select deal. Liberty, they can press all their ults, and there's nothing that Netshoes can do. Cello gets caught in the crossfire between an Encore and a Shockwave to set up the fight, set up the kill, and he just gets melted. The Baron goes the way of Liberty, and game number 1 is now looking firmly in their control.
I feel so bad for Cello. He built the Kraken Slayer this game, which at the time I was like, hey, that's pretty good because you get to shoot through Chiari. But what it means is that when he doesn't have flash, you can't move. And when you can't move, dealing with Scion ult is hard enough. Oh, that was so painful to watch. And now it turns into not one, but 2 objectives. As Liberty are going to pick up their second, right? There we go. Second dragon of the game. Sorry, I think the observers ticked over the dragon before it actually died.
Shaking my head.
I was terrible. I was like, surely this is the sole point. What the hell's happening?
There's no chance that CBLOL has taken 5 dragons in 27 minutes. You take me to other regions, maybe I'll allow it. You take me to Brazil, I say nay. I smile in your face and laugh. She makes such an outrageous claim. But nevertheless, we have got a Baron on for Liberty. Now the question is, how well are they going to be able to use it? They've already done a good job at collecting the objectives. They did lose the mid-tier 1 just off of resetting, which is unfortunately going to happen. And a really good capitalization from Netshoes to make sure that they can get away with that. And now it looks like they're heading down toward this bot lane. Now, both of these teams, they're willing and ready to try and take these fights. Chiari doesn't have teleport just yet. If a fight were to break out, the Scion is going to have to sort of Scion speedway his way through the jungle to get there in time, or just simply, start running now. But the outer turrets still remain in both side lanes, and those are very high gold, very high value if you can collect them. General rule of thumb for the first Baron is you collect all of the outer turrets, all of the gold outside of the base, and then you're able to leverage that into something like a Soul, like a second Baron as well, with the gold that you're able to pick up. Liberty doing a good job using their vision and just using Chiari zoning on the top side here to keep the pressure on for Netshoes. They've got to try and find a way to stall this out. Coming up to the third turrets is exactly where I expect them to make a bit of a stand. Or they could just sit back and watch. We'll have to wait and find out. Can Hawk find the engage? He's searching.
Yeah, you've got to find specifically Was right now. Any other target, and the team fight just doesn't go your way. Even Chiari right now, who does not give a darn about any of the shots he's taken, be they from turret or man. They're barely getting through his shield at this point. Chiari is a monster in the front line, and you really do need that extra backline access. Hawk, instead, though, does take a cue to the face, can still be kicked out at any time. It's making it very difficult for Netshoes miners to actually defend this inhibitor. They end up losing it at 29 minutes into the game, and Liberty take that one off their, not second, but first Baron, defying expectations.
And a really good push. They're just using Chiari to the utmost extreme right now. They don't have the tank killing capabilities yet. That Lord Dominic's Regard hasn't been completed. When that comes through, That's when we expect Cello to really start being able to chew through Chiari, but like we talked about, there's no Liandry's from any either. He's going to find it very difficult to get through this Scion with the Void Staff now in the works. It's going to make it a little bit easier. But Netshoes, they've got a bot lane inhibitor to deal with now, with the Baron respawning in 2 minutes 45. That is going to overlap with when their inhibitor respawns. There's a 5-minute gate, there's a 5-minute timing on the bot lane inhib, so there is going to be that time window where there's going to be super minions pushing in the bot lane, but they need to be focusing on putting resources in the top side of this map. Now if Liberty can make a play happen, make something of this top lane as well, they're going to be in a very good position. They used all of their Baron prio to take down one inhibitor. Let's see what advantages they can amass with that inhibitor being down. They've got a Drake spawning as well in a little over a minute and a half, so if they can collect that one, they put themselves to sole point. And the longer this game goes, the more scary the Scion becomes as a frontline, the scarier this Aphelios becomes as a carry.
Not even going for it. Yeah, not even going for it right there. Instead, Croc, though, recognizes the cooldowns have been burned, burns that Crescent Guard, but instead gets taken down himself. Chiari flashing away, is still alive, and a massive shockwave into Infernal seals the deal on Dobrin as well. That's 2 kills to Liberty off of a team fight they didn't even try and start.
Wow. Whoa! They just press their buttons and they win. I was looking at Cello free hitting that entire time, but he's still just free hitting onto Chiari, and the front line is just too strong. Seraphine Scion is currently winning this game for Liberty. Yes, there's some great shockwaves, some great Moonlight Vigils, but Seraphine plus Scion being that front line that just will never waver is currently setting up the Liberty to take whatever they please on Summoner's Rift. You talked about it when they were sieging the bot lane inhib. They have to find Matsukaze. They have to find Crastial. If they don't, then it's just going to be Chiari plus Voss living at large, healing up, sustaining one another in the front line. You see Voss just playing back, playing safe this entire time and constantly putting Moonstone heals into the Scion as he never goes down. The Infernum, the Shockwave, they were both beautiful. They set up beautifully to take down, once again, this Netshoes Miners squad. And with 32 minutes on the board, sometimes a little bit longer than games that we tend to see, but nevertheless, Netshoes the ones that have got their backs up against the wall and need to find some magic in this first match to come back.
Just for context in that play, it takes 5 full seconds for Chiari to take damage to his actual health bar instead of to his shields.
Yeah.
That, especially when you consider that the whole appeal of Xin Zhao is that he's invincible for a few seconds, at range at the very least, is relatively small. And as I say, Xin Zhao is invincible for a few seconds, we see it, and then we don't.
We see him be invincible for a few seconds, and then we see him die very quickly. And the timing of which could probably not be worse. Baron is respawning as he goes down, and that's just going to be a free objective, and particularly in this game state for Liberty, they've done all the hard work. They've got themselves a great spot in this game. All they've got to do is sit mid lane, watch their side waves push on forward, and let the super minions do the hard work. They can sit here with one Baroned up cannon. There's no access to that for the Netshoes team, and Chiari, I mean, if he just tanks it up, there's nothing really to stop him from doing this. He's got Ori's shield, Seraphine's shield, his own shield, and he's got 4,500 HP banks behind that. He's living life large.
Yeah, he technically did take damage to his health bar off the single auto from Cello, but I'm not sure if he noticed because it was
70 versus 4,200.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the statistics are not in the favor of the Netshoes Miners. With Inhibitor going down as almost an afterthought, Liberty are going to track back down to the bot side where the Inhibitor is most likely to respawn next and potentially look for an angle to end the game. Croc is respawned, so it is a 5v5, but Netshoes Miners are unlikely to be the ones that try and opt into this fight. Just look at that. This is disgusting. The levels alone are terrifying.
Do it. Kill me. Go on. Do it. Try. You can't.
Oh,
okay.
Hawk's looking. Cello has to back away, does burn the traps as well. This isn't even an engage angle from Liberty. They're just poking at this point. And no kills have gone over just yet, softening you up so they can take your Nexus, so there's nothing you can do about it. Croc says not today, but instead we find out that it is today as a big shockwave claims 3 kills, 4 kills. It's a quadra for Crestiel, and it's game.